I'm Joe Giglio for NJ Sports Now on this Monday, March the 2nd, just about a week away from NFL free agency kicking off the bonanza, the frenzy we see every year of teams changing hands. And for the Philadelphia Eagles, today represents a very important day on the NFL calendar. Today at 4 p.m., the deadline to tag a impending free agent, to put a franchise tag on a player, not allowing him to become an unrestricted free agent and leave for the price that any team would pay him without recuperating draft picks. Almost every time a player is franchised, he stays with the team at least for one more year. That put the tag on him. And for the Eagles, they are dancing with a very slippery slope here when it comes to star wide receiver Jeremy Maclin. I believe the Eagles are making a mistake if they allow Maclin to get out into free agency. You look around the NFL right now, and because of the way TV money is added to the game, because teams that have been hoarding cap room for a few years, there are a slew of teams, including the Oakland Raiders, including the Jacksonville Jaguars. You could even go to a team like the Chiefs, doesn't have that kind of cap room, but they do have a coach in Andy Reid that drafted a Mr. Jeremy Maclin and desperately needs a wide receiver. Bottom line, teams need wide receivers, and it's a passing league now. I mean, teams will pay for a Jeremy Maclin. And if the Eagles do not put the franchise tag on Maclin, which I believe they should, even though he may not be worth dollar for dollar exactly what the franchise tag will be for a wide receiver for 1 year in 2015, I believe losing him is more of a detriment than putting too much of the cap for this player. Maclin had an outstanding season in 2014, came back from injury, played every game, was durable, was the #1 wide receiver, and really adequately replaced a Deshaun Jackson as the lead threat in the wide receiver game. And you look at the Eagles' wide receiving core without a Maclin, if they do not bring him back, and even if they plan to bring him back without the franchise tag, you're adding too many variables to this. It's one thing if the Eagles truly believe between now and the start of free agency, when they have the exclusive negotiating window, if they believe over the next week they will hammer out a deal with Jeremy Maclin, then for all intents and purposes, there's no reason, I assume, to put that franchise tag on it. But if there's any doubt, you cannot let Maclin get out into free agency. There's simply too many teams with an abundance of cap room. The Eagles have a good amount of cap room, but they have to go out there and improve their secondary, specifically corner, maybe two, and adding a safety. You talk about linebacker, offensive line. The Eagles have issues here they have to address. Maclin should not be part of the problem. He should be part of the solution for the 2015 Philadelphia Eagles. You look at the Oakland Raiders, as I mentioned, the Jacksonville Jaguars, desperate for a receiver. The Chiefs with Andy Reid. I mean, teams around the league right now, on average, have over $22 million in cap room to spend. That includes a team like the Saints, who's minus 22. They're 22 over. They won't be players of free agency. But when you take that into account, the fact that so many teams have so much cap room, including the New York Jets, there is going to be a run here when free agency begins in a week on top-notch wide receivers. On top of that, you have star wide receivers like Des Bryant of the Cowboys, and we're hearing Demaryius Thomas of the Denver Broncos will be tagged, taking them off the market, removing them, players slightly better than Maclin from the market. You know what that does to Maclin's value? It bumps him up. He becomes the #1 or the #2 receiver on the market. So if you need a receiver and you have a boatload of cap room and there is no excuse, you have fan pressure, you have coach pressure, get me a star wide receiver, you're going to pay Jeremy Maclin. I look at the Eagles and I think to myself, if he gets out in free agency, I don't know if he's coming back. If you tag him, you know he is. You add him to what Jordan Matthews was last year. You add him to an improving and maybe an ascending Josh Huff. Maybe you add a wide receiver at some point in the NFL draft. But I look at the Eagles receiving core, and it is downright scary in a bad way without Jeremy Maclin. It is a lot of money to spend on a receiver. I don't know if Maclin is a true, definition of a #1 wideout. But for the Eagles, he's a guy that fits in their culture. He's a hard worker. He's a team player. And he was very, very productive in 2014, despite having an up-and-down season from the quarterbacks playing behind him. If the Eagles are smart, they tag Jeremy Maclin. If they don't, they're running a big risk that you're going to look at their wide receiving core in 2 weeks and say, Riley Cooper, Jordan Matthews, and Josh Huff, the Eagles are in some trouble. I'm Joe Giglio for NJ Sports Now.